Hello everyone, today we will discuss the module 10 titled Kant and the Rights Theories. Let's proceed in objectives. In this module, you will be able to understand Kantian theory, analyze ethical situation using Kantian theory, differentiate legal rights from moral rights. And now let's proceed to the introduction. This module titled Kant and Rights Theories will explore Kantian ethics, also known as deontological ethics, a moral theory developed by the German philosopher Immanuel Kant. Deontology emphasizes duty and the inherent rightness or wrongness of action, irrespective of their consequences. Kant's ethical framework asserts that actions are morally obligatory if they are done out of respect for duty, and these duties can be discerned through reasons. Immanuel Kant, 1724 to 1804, was a pivotal philosopher known for his contribution to epistemology, ethics, and metaphysics. Born in Königsberg, Kant was heavily influenced by David Hume's skepticism, led him to develop his critical philosophy, aiming to reconcile empiricism and rationalism. His key work includes Critique of Pure Reason, where he explored the nature of knowledge and groundwork of the metaphysics of morals, where he introduced the categorical imperative, a perspective emphasizing moral duty and the treatment of humans as ends in themselves, never merely as means. Kant's idea on duty, ontology, and universal moral law laid the foundation for deontological ethics and significantly influenced modern rights theory, especially in relation to human rights and individual dignity. Immanuel Kant was a German Lutheran theologian and philosopher who became one of the most influential thinkers of the Age of Enlightenment and Western philosophy. He is particularly renowned for his groundbreaking work in epistemology, ethics, and metaphysics. Kant is best known for three major works often referred to as his critiques. First is the Critique of Pure Reason. This work explored the nature of human knowledge and the limits of what we can know, establishing Kant's transcendental idealism as his theory of scientific a priori knowledge. Next is Critique of Practical Reason. Here, Kant developed his moral philosophy introducing the concept of categorical imperative, which is central to his deontological ethics. Next is Critique of the Power of Judgment. In this book, Kant examined aesthetics and teleology, investigating how we can judgments about beauty, art, and nature. Kant was also a professor of University of Königsberg, where he taught mathematics, physics, and metaphysics. His academic career combined with his writing shaped his reputation as a renowned scholar of his time. Kant's work laid the foundation for much of modern philosophy and continued to influence disciplines such as ethics, epistemology, political theory, and aesthetics. Kantianism or Kantian ethics is a deontological moral theory that prioritizes duty, reason, and moral principle in determining the morality of action, rather than focusing on the consequences. Central to Kantian ethics is the idea that morality is grounded in universal moral obligations and intention rather than the outcome of actions. According to Immanuel Kant, the rightness of an action determined by whether it is done out of respect for a moral law, not by any resulting benefits or harm. Duty principle emphasizes that humans are motivated by a sense of duty grounded in pure reasons rather than emotion or the consequences of their action. Kant argued that as rational agents, people can recognize and act accordingly to moral principles without relying on experience or outcome. Moral obligations are a priori meaning that they are known through reasons alone, not influenced by personal desire or situational factors. The categorical imperative central to Kantian ethics requires the individual to act accordingly to principles that could be universally applied. In this view, morality is determined by rational will with duty as the core of moral actions. Next is the goodwill principle. In Kantian ethics asserts that a goodwill is good by virtue of being an end in itself, not a means to others' ends. And a will is morally good when it acts in accordance with duty and reasons and become bad when it's used to achieve goals beyond its intrinsic goodness. Kant's ethics system is universalist, meaning the good is consistent across all actions and situations with no disparity between intentions and actions. The will must always reflect the moral law, and there should be no exemption to it, making Kant's approach absolutist. Kant provide two tests for moral actions. The categorical imperative, which asks is if an action's principle can be universally willed, and treating persons as end in themselves, which ensure actions respect the dignity and autonomy of others. For Kant, morality is rooted in the goodwill guided by reasons and duty by universally applicable in all contexts. A goodwill is not influenced by personal desires or outcomes but is motivated by the rational recognition of duty. Kant argued that free will, the capacity to make choices independently, allows individuals to act in accordance with reason, choosing moral actions purely out of respect for duty. The moral worth of an action for Kant lies in the intent and motive behind it, not the consequences.
Yan lead video to, and I will going to discuss the categorical imperative principle. An act only according to that maxim personal rule, general principle, whereby you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. Categorical imperative. First test, Kant's goodwill, which is universally and absolutely good, can be considered also as the one and the same. Categorical imperative, it is the consistency of intention and the act. This principle is the first test of morality comes pure intention and objective judgment supported by rationality alone. The categorical imperative is also called a principle of objectivity because as a moral test, it assesses the universality of moral actions. Categorical imperative simply believes in his reason as he may as some form of question such as, but categorical imperative is neither feeling nor inclination. Ang categorical imperative ay isang mahalagang konsepto sa filosofiya ni Immanuel Kant. Ito ay isang moral na prinsipyo na nagsasabing dapat tayong kumilos ayon sa isang panuntunan na gusto nating maging isang universal na batas. Sa madaling salita, dapat tayong kumilos sa paraang gusto nating gawin ng lahat ng tao sa lahat ng pagkakataon. Ito ay isang uri ng golden rule na nagbibigay diin sa kahalagaan ng pagiging pare-pareho at pagiging patas. Ang unang pagsubok sa categorical imperative ay ang pagsusuri kung ang ating intensyon at ang ating kilos ay magkakasundo. Kung hindi magkasundo ang dalawa, maaring ito ay isang moral na kilos. Halimbawa, kung gusto mong magsinungaling para sa sariling kapakanan, hindi mo magugustuhang maging isang universal na batas. Ang pagsisinungaling ay hindi isang moral na kilos ayon sa categorical imperative. So, ang categorical imperative ay isang mahalagang gabay sa etikal na pag-iisip at pagkilos. Tinutulungan tayo nito na maunawaan ang kahalagaan ng pagiging pare-pareho, pagiging patas at paggalang sa dignidad ng bawat tao. Next is the person as end principle. Act so that you treat people never as a mere means to an end, but always as end in themselves. Persons as ends in themselves, second test. This person as ends in term principle is a second test that could be considered as the same with the golden rule. Treat others as you would like them to treat you, or do to others what you want others do unto you. But to consider persons only as means to achieving other goals or one's personal interests rather than being good is wrong. Rationality is fundamentally objective or does not promote personal interests and have only one ultimate goal, to be moral. To be moral is the function of practical reason to allow humans to apply general principles to particular instances of actions. This means that humans should engage in moral reasoning as a way of determining one's moral duty. They should discover through reason alone what is the right action to do. They should apply a moral principle such as the categorical imperative, goodwill, and persons as end in themselves as the very source of actions. So, ang person as end principle ay isa pang mahalagang konsepto sa filosofiya ni Immanuel Kant. Ito ay nagsasabing dapat nating ituring ang mga tao hindi lamang bilang mga paraan upang makamit ang ating mga layunin, kundi bilang mga taong may sariling halaga at dignidad. Sa madaling salita, dapat nating igalang ang bawat tao bilang isang individual na may karapatan at dignidad. Hindi natin dapat gamitin ang ibang tao para lamang sa ating sariling kapakanan. Ang person as end principle ay isang kadalasang inihahambing sa golden rule. Pareho silang nagtuturo na dapat nating itrato ang ibang tao sa paraang gusto nating itrato tayo. Halimbawa, hindi natin dapat gamitin ang isang kaibigan lamang para sa kanilang koneksyon, kundi dapat natin sila igalang bilang isang tao na may sariling buhay at pangarap. Ang person as end principle ay isang mahalagang gabay sa etikal na pag-uugali. Tinutulungan tayo nito na maunawaan ang kahalagahan ng paggalang sa dignidad ng bawat tao at ng pagtrato sa kanila bilang mga individual na may halaga.
Guys, I am Robelyn Ignacio and I am the next reporter. I am reporting the end lawmaker principle. Let's start. Act as if you were, through your maxims, a lawmaker of kingdom of ends. Ang ibig sabihin lang nito ay dapat kang kumilos na parang ikaw ay isang tagapagligtas sa isang kingdom of ends, o isang komunidad o mundo kung saan ang bawat tao ay tinatrato bilang sariling halaga at layunin. Ang ibig sabihin nito ay kapag gumawa ka ng desisyon o aksyon, isipin mo na ang mga prinsipyo o maxim, yung mga dahilan kung bakit mo ginagawa isang bagay ay magiging mga batas na susundin ng lahat sa isang ideal na mundo. Okay? Kant thinks that person as ends are autonomous. Autonomous persons are able to exercise free and good will be legislating the moral law for everyone. Every rational being is able to regard himself as a maker of a universal law not because of an external moral authority, but under the authority of his own reason alone. Being autonomous demands respect for ends or persons have basic moral right. Para kay Kant daw ay ang mga tao bilang ends ay autonomous, ibig sabihin may kakayahan silang magdesisyon at kumilos ng mahalaga ayon sa kanilang sariling kalooban. Ang autonomous na tao ay may kakayahang gumawa ng tama at mabuting desisyon at magtakda ng moral na batas para sa lahat. Hindi sila umaasa sa ibang tao o sa panlabas na otoridad para magtakda ng tama o mali. Sa halip, ginagamit nila ang kanilang sarili nilang rason para magbigay ng mga universal na batas. Ang pagiging autonomous ay nangangahulugan na dapat may respeto sa mga ends o tao. At ibig sabihin nito ay may mga batayang moral na karapatan ang bawat isa. Sa madaling salita, ang bawat tao ay may karapatang maging malaya sa paggawa ng desisyon na makatarungan at moral. Hindi sila dapat gawing kasangkapan lang para sa interes ng iba. Next, let's proceed to applying 7-step model Kant's ethical decision. First is gather the facts. Your friend is inside the house, a sinister looking. The looks make you feel that something bad or evil might happen. Man carrying an axe knocks on your door. He asks where your best friend is. Pag ay gather the facts o pagkuha ng mga katotohanan, kailangan mo munang alamin ang mga detalye ng sitwasyon. Like the example in the given scenario. Ang sabi dito, your friend is inside the house. Kaibigan mo daw nasa loob ng bahay. Alam mo, kaibigan mo ay nakatago sa loob ng bahay at ligtas doon. A sinister looking, the looks make you feel that something bad or evil might happen. Man carrying an axe knocks on your door. May isa daw na sinister looking na tao na may palakol na kumakatok na para siyang malupit o may masamang balak. Kasi ang itsura niya ay nakakaramdam ka ng takot o panganib. Na may dala palakol at kumakatok sa pintuan. He asks where your best friend is. At tinutukoy niyang naghahanap ng kaibigan. Hinahanap niya yung kaibigan mo. Inoksyon siya na naghahanap ng kaibigan mo at nagtanong siya kung saan siya. Sa akbang na ito, kailangan mong tandaan ang mga katotohanan ito. Mahalaga na maayos na makuha ang mga detalye ng sitwasyon bago gumawa ng desisyon kung paano ka kikilos. Pangalawa, determine the ethical issues. Telling a lie, saving a life, and preserve friendship versus telling the truth, categorical, empirical. In such situation, if you tell the axeman that your friend is in the house, the axeman may kill your friend. But even if you tell a lie in order to save your friend, there is possibility that the axeman finds your friend inside or outside the house and kills him. Sa man-determine the ethical issues, dito mo matitimbang mga moral na issue na kaugnay ng sitwasyon. Ito, una, pagsisinungaling, telling a lie. For saving a life and preserve your best friend. Kung magsisinungaling ka at sabihin mo sa axeman na walang kaibigan mo sa loob ng bahay, ang layunin mo ay iligtas ang buhay ng kaibigan mo at protektahan ang pagkakaibigan nyo. Ang action na ito ay parang isang hakbang upang gawin ang mabuti at ipakita ang malasakit sa iyong kaibigan. Subalit, may panganib na kahit magsinungaling ka, maaaring makita pa rin ng axeman ang kaibigan mo o baka matuklasan na nagsinungaling ka, magdulot pa rin ng masamang epekto. In such situation, if you tell the axeman that your friend is in the house, the axeman may kill your friend. But even if you tell a lie or order to save your friend, there is possibility that the axeman finds your friend inside or then pagsasabi ng totoo, categorical, imperative. Kung sasabihin mo ang totoo at ipaalam mo sa axeman na ang kaibigan mo ay nasa loob ng bahay, ito ay ayon sa categorical imperative. O ang prinsipyo na nagsasabi, laging gawin ang tama patay sa moral na batas. Sa Kantian ethics, ang pagsasabi ng totoo ay isang moral na tungkulin at hindi dapat iwasan kahit gaano pa kalaki ang panganib na dulot nito. Gayunpaman, may panganib na ang pagsasabi ng totoo ay magdulot ng masama sa iyong kaibigan tulad ng posibilidad na patayin ng axeman. Kaya, ang pangunahing moral na issue dito ay kung alin ang mas mataas na tungkulin. Ang pagsasabi ng totoo bilang isang universal na moral na batas o ang pagsisinungaling upang iligtas ang buhay ng kaibigan. Ang dalawang option ay may kaakibat na moral na epekto na dapat pag-isipang mabuti. Okay, let's proceed to number 3. What principles have a bearing on the case? Categorical imperative. These hold that an action is good or right if it can be universalized. Telling the truth is a universal duty. This recognizes and promotes that persons should be respected because they are persons, and it is a duty to treat others as ends. Besides, it is what comes from goodwill or pure reason. Categorical imperative. Sinasabi ng prinsipyong ito ng isang aksyon ay tama o mabuti. Kung ito ay pwedeng gawing universal, ibig sabihin lang kung lahat ng tao ay pwedeng gawin ito ng walang masamang epekto. Halimbawa na lamang ng ang pagsasabi ng totoo ay isang universal na tungkulin. Kaya kailangan natin itong gawin hindi lang dahil sa mga resulta, kundi dahil ito ay tama. Ipinapakita nito na ang mga tao ay dapat respetuhin bilang ends o may sarili silang layunin at hindi natin sila dapat gawing kasangkapan lang. Ang action na ito ay galing sa God will o malinis na rason. Dumako tayo sa pangalawa, sanctity of life. This is a moral principle or highest value that must be protected and preserved. Ito ay isang moral na prinsipyo na nagsasabing ang buhay ng tao ay may pinakamataas na halaga at kailangan protektahan at pangalagaan. Pinapakita nito ang buhay ng bawat tao ay may dignidad at hindi ito dapat gawing biro o gawing kasangkapan sa interes ng iba. Friendship. This moral principle is centered on affection, love, compassion, and trust. One should do everything to prove it. Padali lang ng friendship dahil alam ko naman na may kaibigan din kayo. Ang ibig sabihin nito ay ang prinsipyo ng pagkakaibigan nakabatay sa pagmamahal, malasakit, at tiwala. Kapag nagmamahal at may malasakit ka sa ibang tao, kailangan mong ipakita ito sa pamamagitan ng iyong mga aksyon. Ang prinsipyong ito ay nagpapakita ng kahalagahan ng respeto at pag-aalaga sa iba, at ito ay isang moral na tungkulin na dapat nating tuparin. Let's proceed to number 4. Let's list the alternatives. Alternative 1. There's 6 alternatives. First is attempt to convince the axeman that your friend is not in the house. Subukan mong kumbinsihin ng axeman o yung taong may dalang palakol na hindi nasa loob ng bahay kaibigan mo. Dito ang layunin mo ay pigilan sa paghahanap ng kaibigan mo sa pamamagitan ng pagpapaniwala sa kanya na wala siya doon. Alternative 2. Call for help from the neighbors to get rid of the axeman. Okay, tumawag ng tulong sa mga kapitbahay para matulungan ka sa pag-alis ng axeman. Dito, maghahanap ka ng ibang tao na makakatulong sa iyo para malutas ang problema para malutas ang problema nang hindi ka kailangang magsinungaling o gumawa ng masama. Alternative 3. Call for the police officers to report that a sinister-looking axeman is looking for your friend. Tumawag ka ng mga pulis para i-report na may isang kahina-hinalang tao na may dalang palakol na naghahanap ng kaibigan mo. Sa alternatibong ito, makikinig ka sa batas at maghahanap ka ng otoridad na pwedeng umakto para tulungan ang sitwasyon mo. Next, alternative 4. Inform your friend about the axeman and let him decide if he allows you to reveal his location. Okay, sabihin mo sa kaibigan mo na tungkol doon sa axeman na naghahanap sa'yo. At hayaan mong siyang yung magdesisyon kung papayag siyang sabihin ang lokasyon mo. Ang desisyon ay binalik mo sa kaibigan mo at pinapakita mo na may respeto ka sa kalayaan at karapatan niya. Next is alternative 5. Tell the truth that your friend is inside the house. O sabihin mo na yung totoo na ang kaibigan mo ay nasa loob ng bahay. Dito, tapat mong ipapaalam ang katotohanan, ngunit may kaakibat na panganib para sa kaibigan mo, kaya't kailangan mong pag-isipan kung tama ba ang gagawin mong ito. Alternative 6. Tell a lie that your friend is not in the house. O magsinungaling ka na lang at sabihin mo na wala sa loob ng bahay yung kaibigan mo. Dito, pinapakita mo ng moral na dilema ng pagsisinungaling para protektahan ang kaibigan mo. Ngunit kailangan mo ring isaalang-alang ang mga posibleng epekto ng pagsisinungaling. So, ang lahat ng mga alternatibong ito nagbibigay ng iba't ibang moral na pagpipilian. At bawat isa ay may epekto sa kung paano mo tatatuhin ang ibang tao bilang ends o may dignidad ayon sa End Lawmaker Principle. Dumako tayo sa number 5. Compare the alternatives with principles. A. Attempt to convince the axeman that your friend is not in the house. But if the above is unsuccessful, you can either call for help from either the neighbors or the police officers. Attempt convince to... Okay. A. Katian principles. Ang layunin alternatibong ito ay iwasan ang pagkakaroon ng masamang epekto sa kaibigan mo. Ngunit hindi ito siguradong magtatagumpay. Kung hindi ito magtatagumpay, ikaw ay muling nahaharap sa problema. At kailangan mo pa ring magdesisyon kung ano ang susunod mong hakbang. Analysis. Pwedeng ito ay isang moral na hakbang kung makakausap mo ang axeman at mapipigilan siya. Ngunit hindi ito umaayon sa categorical empirical dahil wala itong tiyak na moral na basihan na pwedeng gawing universal. Hindi ito palaging magiging tama sa bawat sitwasyon. B. Call for help from the neighbors or the police officers. But if the above is unsuccessful, inform your friend about the axeman and let him decide if he allows you to reveal his location. Sa Katian principles, tumawag ng tulong mula sa kapitbahay o sa pulis ay isang hakbang na nakabatay sa goodwill at malasakit sa iba. Ginawa mo ito para sa kaligtasan ng kaibigan mo at hindi mo siya ginagamit bilang kasangkapan para sa sariling kapakinabangan. Analysis. Ito ay isang mas responsable at moral na hakbang dahil naghahanap ka ng tulong mula sa otoridad, ngunit may panganib na hindi ito magtagumpay. Gayunpaman, ito ay higit na umaayon sa prinsipyo ng persons as ends dahil nakatuon ito sa kaligtasan at dignidad ng iyong kaibigan. C. Tell a lie that your friend is inside the house. But even if the above option is possible, the axeman can still intrude, and as your friend sneaks out at the back door, he can still be caught and be killed. It would be better to tell the truth. For whatever possible consequences, you will not be responsible. Pagsisinungaling ay mali ayon sa categorical imperative ni Kant, dahil hindi mo ma-universalize ang pagsisinungaling. Ibig sabihin, kung lahat ng tao ay magsisinungaling para sa kanilang sariling interes, hindi magiging maayos ang mundo. Bagamat ang layunin mo ay protektahan ang kaibigan mo, ang pagsisinungaling ay hindi makatarungan at hindi umaayon sa moral law. Ang moral na prinsipyo ni Kant ay nagsasabing hindi ka dapat gumawa ng masama kahit na may magandang layunin ka. D. Tell the truth to your friends inside the house. This is the best option because it follows the categorical imperative. Ang pagsasabi ng totoo ay umaayon sa categorical imperative ni Kant, dahil ang pagiging tapat ay isang universal na moral na prinsipyo ayon kay Kant. Ang pagsasabi ng totoo ay isang moral na tungkulin na hindi dapat iwasan anuman ang mga posibleng panganib. Bagamat may panganib na magdulot ito ng masama sa iyong kaibigan. Ang pagiging tapat ay isang moral na desisyon. Ipinapakita nito ang respeto sa moral law at sa dignidad ng iba. Kung magtutulungan tayong lahat sa paggawa ng tama, magkakaroon tayo ng isang mas makatarungan at moral na mundo kahit mahirap ang mga resulta. So, ang pagsasabi ng totoo sa option D ay ang pinakamoral na desisyon ayon sa categorical imperative. Bagamat may panganib, ito ay sumusunod sa moral na prinsipyo ni Kant ng pagiging tapat at hindi paggamit sa ibang tao bilang kasangkapan. Ang mga alternatibo na may pagsisinungaling o pag-iwas sa responsibilidad ng option A to A, B, C ay maaaring may magandang layunin, ngunit hindi ito sumusunod sa mga prinsipyo ni Kant at hindi nagpapakita ng tamang moral na disiplina sa bawat sitwasyon. Okay, let's proceed to number 6. Weight the consequences. This is not applicable because consequences do not matter at all. Even if there are good, better, and best consequences, the basis should still and always be the goodwill or intention. Sakbang na weigh the consequences. Ayon sa end lawmaker principle at Kantian ethics, hindi mahalaga ang mga consequences o resulta ng iyong aksyon. Ang Kantian ethics ay hindi tumitingin sa mga magiging epekto ng aksyon, kundi sa intensyon o goodwill ng iyong desisyon. Ayon kay Kant, ang moralidad ng isang aksyon ay nakabatay sa kung ito ay ginagawa ng mga tamang layunin, goodwill, at ayon sa mga moral na prinsipyo tulad ng categorical imperative, hindi sa kung anong magiging resulta nito. Kahit na may mga mabuti o mas mabuti at pinakamagandang resulta, ang batayan ng moral na desisyon ay palaging ang intensyon o layunin ng aksyon. Kung ang layunin ay tama at makatarungan tulad ng pagiging tapat at paggalang sa dignidad ng iba, ito ay isang moral na aksyon anuman ang kahihinatnan. Sa madaling salita, hindi mo kailangang timbangin ang mga posibleng epekto ng iyong aksyon. Ang pinakamahalaga ay kung ginawa mo ito dahil sa mabuting layunin at ayon sa tamang moral na prinsipyo at hindi dahil sa pansariling kapakinabangan o resulta. Let's proceed to make a decision. We have to think through Kant's principle of goodwill. categorical imperative, and persons as ends in themselves. So, dito naman, sa hakbang ng make a decision, kailangan mong isaalang-alang ang mga pangunahing prinsipyo ni Kant, like goodwill, categorical empirical, at persons as ends in themselves. Godwill, ayon kay Kant, ang pinakamahalagang bahagi ng isang moral na aksyon ay ang intensyon o layunin. Ang goodwill ay ang layunin na gawin ang tama, hindi dahil sa mga pinipisyo o resulta, kundi dahil ito ay ang moral na tama na dapat gawin. Categorical imperative is isa sa mga fundamental na prinsipyo ni Kant ay ang categorical imperative na nagsasabing ang isang aksyon ay tama lamang kung maaari itong gawing universal na batas. Ibig sabihin, kung magsisinungaling ka, hindi mo maaaring gawing universal na batas ang pagsisinungaling sa lahat ng pagkakataon. And last is the persons as ends in themselves. Prinsipyo ng persons as ends in themselves ay nagsasabing ang mga tao ay may inherent na halaga at hindi dapat gamitin lamang bilang kasangkapan para sa sarili nating layunin. Ang pagdidesisyon ay, pinakamoral na desisyon ay ang pagsasabi ng totoo tungkol sa kinaroroonan ng kaibigan mo. Ayon kay Kant, kahit mahirap at may panganib, ang pagiging tapat ay isang moral na tungkulin. Ang goodwill ay nagbase sa paggawa ng tama, hindi batay sa mga resulta. Ang categorical imperative ay nagsasabing dapat mong tratuhin ang iba, kabilang ang kaibigan mo, bilang ends in themselves, at hindi bilang kasangkapan upang makamit ang iyong sariling layunin. Kaya sa desisyong ito, kahit mahirap at may mga posibleng masamang epekto, ang moral na desisyon ay ang pagsasabi ng totoo at pagtupad sa iyong moral na tungkulin ayon sa prinsipyo ni Kant.
Hello everyone, I am Kate May Seguinit and I'm going to discuss about the 3 types of right theories. So the first one is natural right theories. Greeks like Aristotle and had long believed that rights are natural rights that we inherited from nature and reason, like the rights to life, freedom, property, and pursuit of happiness. Many modern thinkers like Hugo Grotius, Thomas Hobbes, Samuel von Pufendorf, and John Locke were natural theorists. So, sa natural right theories, sinasabi na sa pagkapanganak mo pa lamang sa mundong ito, meron ka ng natural rights na tinataglay, from the word natural. These theories lay the foundation of modern human rights discussion. Ano nga ba yung mga natural rights na yon? So, example nito o halimbawa nito is the right of life o karapatan mong mabuhay, karapatan mong maging malaya, and marami pang iba.
The second one is instrumental rights theorists. Consequentialists and utilitarianists like Jeremy Bentham, John Stuart Mill, and Henry Sidgwick describe rights as part of rules instrumental in achieving an optional distribution of advantages or greatest utility or happiness for a number of people. Pure egalitarian theories also contend that rights lead to the achievement of more equal distribution of advantages, whereas the prioritarian theories go beyond by giving extra weight to the interests of the less privileged.
Dito naman sa instrumental right theories ay sinasabi na rights are not inherent or natural. So parang kabaliktaran siya ng natural right theories. Yung right na yun ay hindi automatic na nandyan, kundi andyan siya dahil sa purpose niya, and that is instrumental right. In short, if natural right is came from nature, reason, or a higher power and exist, the instrumental right are created by societies or government for practical purpose.
So, I have a question, everyone. Ang respect ba or respeto is natural or instrumental rights? In your own opinion.
Again, if me, sa akin, in my opinion, respect is instrumental. Why? Because naniniwala ako na hindi mo makukuha yung respeto na gusto mo para sa sarili mo if hindi ka rin naman marunong rumespeto. It is not inherent. I will respect you if you also know how to show respect. Moving on, dito naman tayo sa contractual right theories, the last type of right theories. So, these thinkers hold that rights are stipulations guaranteed by certain valid contract between peoples. They also uphold rights in business contract. Hobbes, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and Locke consider rights in social contract between the government and its citizen as rights surrender to the authority in exchange for protection for their remaining rights, including the rights in social order. It says that rights are created through agreement or contract between people or group. So, halimbawa nito, inutusan ka ng may-ari ng bahay na linisin yung bakuran niya. Going on to private property without permission is called trespassing. But dahil may pinag-usapan o agreement kayo, ay walang magiging problema, and that is called contractual right theories. Immanuel Kant, 1724 to 1804. Kantian and deontology holds that human persons have rights that are autonomous, universal, and treat person as ends. The only innate right is freedom, insofar as it can coexist with others' freedom in accordance with universal law. The foundation of Kant's human dignity and human rights is duty for reason. Rights theories or rights-based ethics. Rights theories are ethical or moral frameworks that consider rights as moral standards of a rightness or wrongness of behaviors. Rights are moral rights, either prohibiting behaviors that cannot be done against or allowing behaviors that can be done to individual. Rights theories are considered deontological theories because the rights themselves are duties or reason that everyone ought to obey regardless of any circumstance or consequence. Natural and human rights are considered deontological. When applied to moral behaviors, rights theories state that in order for actions to be good or right, the intention of doing ought to be right and are duties in themselves that promote human rights. It is not the outcome of actions that make them morally justified, but the very moral principles or reason behind them. The United States of America's Bill of Rights and the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights epitomize the kind of rights which the rights theory adheres and promote. Rights called either the moral or legal. A right defends an interest. To follow and defend a right then is good, but to violate it is bad. Rights are considered also as entitlement or justified claims to certain kinds of positive and negative treatments and non-interference from other. Rights can be the social condition of life that can help individuals realize their best. They help develop personalities that may contribute best service to others and the society. No society is entitled to disrespect or compulsorily remove these rights because they are natural or assigned as pillars of society. The two different kinds of rights. The first one is moral rights. Rights that arise from being part of social community which recognize the inherent worth of human being to one another. This brought out from the basic respect and value one gives to another person. Example, a person has a moral right to expect others to give her credit of her works. So, moral right, inherent worth of human being to respect and value to one another. So, ang keyword lang dito is, or short lang, is respect others.
Hi, I'm Christian Angelos A. Paragas, and I will discuss the continuation of the two different kinds of rights. Characteristic of rights. Moral rights are also traditionally considered as right ordained by God to human in order for them to discover their own source and ultimate end, God Himself. Sinasabi dito na ang moral rights ay mga karapatang itinakda ng Diyos para sa mga tao upang matuklasan nila ang kanilang pinagmulan at ultimate end o katapusan. Moral rights are natural laws that give undeniable or inherent freedom in life. Freedom in life are natural and unchangeable rights. These moral rights are moral principles or norms which guide human behaviors. Any other considerations, afar from being moral, human, natural, and reasonable, are all considered arbitrary, prejudicial, morally irrelevant, and unequal. Moral rights are moral status which is having a kind of protective moral shield so that whoever go beyond or take advantage of them is a violation. Others are not free to take, to interfere, to limit, and to abuse them as they want. Any behavior that compromises the moral rights are called trespassing of the moral status. So, walang karapatan ng iba na pakialaman sa moral rights ang ibang tao. Trespassing of moral status only means that one may have to exceed in their rights to the extent that they may violate others' rights. Though, any response to trespassing must be within one's right. For example, if a criminal attacks a person and the person see it as a great threat to his life, he has to use any means to preserve his life even if it may harm or kill the criminal. Any exception to violate rights, such as the case of self-defense, could never be the moral standard to violate others' right. It should always be the last result. Ang pagtatanggol sa sarili ay hindi dapat sapat na dahilan upang labagin ang pamantayang moral ng ibang tao. Ito ay ang huling dapat na gawin kung kinakailangan talaga. In Section 1 under the Bill of Rights, Article 3 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution, it states, "No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall any person be denied the equal protection of the law." So, these are the 30 Universal Declaration of the Human Rights. Number 1, right to equality. 2, freedom from discrimination. 3, right to life, liberty, personal security. 4, freedom from slavery. 5, freedom from torture and degrading treatment. 6, right to recognition as a person before the law. 7, right to equality before the law. 8, right to remedy by competent tribunal. 9, freedom from arbitrary arrest and exile. 10, right to fair public hearing. 11, right to be considered innocent until proven guilty. 12, freedom from interference with privacy, family, home, and correspondence. 13, right to free movement in any out of the country. 14, right to asylum in other countries from persecution. 15, right to nationality and the freedom to change it. 16, right to marriage and family. 17, right to own property. 18, freedom of belief in religion. 19, freedom of opinion and information. 20, right to peaceful assembly and association. 21, right to participate in government and in free elections. 22, right to social security. 23, right to desirable work and to join trade unions. 24. Right to rest and leisure. 25. Right to adequate living standard. 26. Right to education. 27. To participate in the cultural life of community. 28. Right to a social order that articulates this document. 29. Community duties essential to free and full development. And the last is freedom from state or personal interference in the above rights. So, yun ang 30 Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Dito naman tayo sa pangalawang uri ng karapatan o the second kind of right, the legal rights. A right created under the law. It can be based in the Constitution or a statute. It is usually the crystallization of the traditional values in what is generally regarded as ethical and moral within a specific political area and recognized by a duly authorized authority, which in most cases would be the state and its citizens. They might be loosely termed also as codified moral rights. Example, a qualified voter has the right to vote provided he/she does not have any of the disqualifications. Ito ang karapatan na ginawa sa ilalim ng batas. Yung mga values at kung ano-ano ang karaniwang itinuturing na ethical at moral sa loob ng isang partikular na lugar. Sa politika at kinikilala ng isang autorisadong autoridad, ng karamihan ng mga kaso ay ang estado at mga mamamayan nito. Ang mga ito ay maaaring maluwag na tinatawag din bilang codified moral rights, are claims that protect the interests of humans both as individual and as a group. They are special rights or privilege granted by the government or illegal authority through a certain contract of agreement. Legal rights are also called conventional or political rights, which are created by human authorities conventions. Ang mga ito ay espesyal na mga karapatan o pribilehiyo na ipinagkaloob ng gobyerno o isang legal na otoridad sa pamamagitan ng isang partikular na kontrata ng kasunduan. Ang mga legal na karapatan ay tinatawag ding conventional o political rights na nilikha ng mga tao, autoridad, convention. Legal, not always moral. Hindi laging moral. Obviously, moral and legal rights cannot be separated. So, moral at legal na mga karapatan ay hindi maaaring paghiwalayin. Some moral rights are legalized, even though not all legal rights are moral. Ang ilang mga karapatang moral ay ginawang legal kahit na hindi lahat ng mga legal na karapatan ay moral. There is an overlap between moral and legal rights, whereby legal laws are essentially based on moral rights. Right to live is both legal and moral, so that laws on this such as its violation, like murder, are both illegal and immoral. One may have a legal right to do, but not a moral right to do it. Some legal laws can be unjust, thus immoral. Sinasabi dito na mayroong overlap sa pagitan ng moral at legal na mga karapatan, kung saan ang mga legal na batas ay mahalagang nakabatay sa mga karapatang moral. Ang karapatang mabuhay ay parehong legal at moral. Kaya ang mga batas tungkol dito tulad ng paglabag nito tulad ng pagpatay ay parehong illegal at immoral. Ang isa ay maaaring may legal na karapatan gumawa ng masama, hindi moral na karapatang gawin ito. Ang ilang mga legal na batas ay maaaring hindi makatarungan, kaya immoral. With diverse cultures, what is legal may not necessarily be moral. Laws and ethics are not the same. Laws often embody ethical principles or codify ethical principles.
they do not always prohibit acts that are widely condemned as immoral and do sometimes prohibit those that are perceived as ethical. Example, the use of artificial contraceptive is supported by the RA number 10354 or the Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health Act of 2012. Families can choose artificial methods in family planning, but many Filipinos, especially the religious groups, consider the law immoral because it does not only violate the natural law but also promote premarital sex, self-indulgence, and teenage pregnancy in proliferation of pills, condoms, and pornography. Correspondingly, some laws are immoral but not illegal. So may mga batas na immoral pero hindi illegal. Narito yung mga examples niya. Backbiting, gambling, smoking, and drinking alcohol, disobeying your parents, harsh treatment of children, and sex with animals. Having no law that prohibits them basically legal or permissible through unwritten as a law to ordinary people. So may mga immoral na gawa na hindi illegal, kundi ito ay legal dahil walang batas na pumipigil dito. TAN 2014 has discussed some unfair legal rights or laws, revised penal code of the Philippines especially to women. Article 333 and 334, marital infidelity laws, hold that a wife may be found guilty of adultery if she has sexual relations with a man not her husband. In contrast, a husband would only be guilty of concubinage by meeting certain specific conditions. The punishment for adultery is heavier than concubinage. 2. Article 202 holds that prostitution is the act of women who engage in sexual relations and lascivious acts for profit, and outlines the appropriate punishment for such acts. According to Philippine Commission on Women, the law implies that prostitutes are criminals who engage in the sex industry for monetary gain. It does not consider that most prostitutes are forced into the sex trade by socio-economic factors such as poverty, making them victims rather than perpetrators. The law only penalizes prostitutes, not the customers or pimps. 3. Article 351 defines premature marriage in which women are barred from remarrying for 301 days or when pregnant following legal separation. Annulment, or being widowed, despite the fact that there have been no convictions for premature marriage. The law is seen as unfair to women, as it enforces a period of mourning on them. So that ends our discussion. Thanks for listening.